Ever hear strange sounds coming from your air vents at night? Maybe you've brushed it off as the wind or the pipes. But what if the voice knew your name? And what if it wasn't just talking, it was calling you? The real question is, who was the first person that voice called? And what happened to them? So, this story comes from a 15-year-old kid named Tyler. He lived in a normal suburban house just outside of Denver. He'd been grounded for staying up too late gaming, so his dad took away his console and made him go to bed at 10 p.m. sharp. That's when he first noticed the voice. It was soft, whispery, coming from the air vent above his desk. At first, it just sounded like static, but then it turned into words, clear words. "Tyler, I see you." He thought it was his little brother messing around, but when he barged into his brother's room, the kid was asleep, snoring. That night, Tyler couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the vent. At exactly 3:33 a.m., the voice came again. "Don't be scared. I'm already inside." He screamed. His parents rushed in. They told him he was dreaming, that maybe he'd read something creepy online, but he hadn't. The next day, Tyler grabbed a flashlight and opened the vent. He wanted to prove there was something in there. What he found was a note, folded and yellowed, like it had been in there for years. It said, "He's not in the vent, he's in the walls." Tyler freaked out. They called in an HVAC guy to check the duct system, thinking maybe someone broke in or something, but here's where it gets messed up. The tech found another note, taped deep inside the vent shaft. It was newer, fresh ink, and it had Tyler's full name, his birthday, and the words, "Second attempt successful. He will respond to the voice, just like the last one." Tyler's parents pressed the technician, who admitted something strange. "You're not the first family to call about this house." Turns out, the last family that lived there had a teenage son too. He went missing, never found, right around the same age Tyler is now. Tyler doesn't sleep in his room anymore, and sometimes at night, the vents still whisper almost time. So if you hear something in your room at night, don't check the vent, don't listen, because it's not calling you yet. But the moment you respond, that's when it begins. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had that moment at night, lying in bed, where the silence feels too quiet, like the air gets a little thicker, heavier, and suddenly you're just aware of everything around you? What if that feeling wasn't just your imagination? What if when you checked under your bed, it wasn't empty? And what if whatever was down there wasn't trying to hurt you, but trying to protect you? That's what happened to Ethan, and the truth is, he didn't find the monster under his bed. He found out what it was protecting him from. Ethan was just a normal kid, 16, junior year, lived in a small town in Indiana where nothing ever really happened. He was smart, quiet, a little sarcastic, didn't really believe in ghosts or demons or any of that. But He had this one habit. Every night before getting into bed, he'd check under it. Yeah, like a little kid, like he was 6 again. His friends joked about it when they found out. His parents chalked it up to leftover childhood paranoia. Even Ethan himself used to laugh about it. He'd say stuff like, "Hey, better safe than sorry. Maybe one day I'll catch the boogeyman slipping." It was harmless, right? Until one night, it wasn't. It was a Thursday night. Ethan had school the next day, but he couldn't sleep. He was scrolling through TikTok in the dark, phone on low brightness, volume turned all the way down. His room was silent except for the hum of his ceiling fan. Then, out of nowhere, he sat up, like someone yanked him from sleep, but he hadn't fallen asleep. He was awake, or at least he thought he was, heart racing, hands clammy, and that feeling, you know the one, like someone standing behind you, watching, waiting. He looked around. Everything looked normal. His desk was a mess of homework and water bottles, posters on the wall, LED lights flickering faintly blue. Still, the feeling wouldn't go away. He sat up, swung his legs over the bed like he'd done 100 times before, and without even thinking, checked under it. Just routine, but this time there was something there. At first, he thought it was a shadow. His brain tried to rationalize it. Maybe a pile of clothes. Maybe his backpack had slid under, but then the shadow blinked. 2 pale, milky eyes, reflecting the faint glow of his LED lights, stared back at him from the darkness. They weren't human eyes. They were too wide, too still. No pupils, just foggy, lifeless orbs. And then a voice, his voice, from under the bed. Something whispered, "Don't get up." He flew back, hitting his head on the nightstand, scrambled to his feet, flipped on the lights. Nothing. Under the bed was empty. No shadow, no eyes, no voice. He stood there, shaking, heart pounding in his ears, staring at the empty space, but he knew what he saw, or at least he thought he did. Ethan didn't sleep that night, or the next. He tried convincing himself it was sleep paralysis, maybe a waking dream, maybe he was just that tired. But that voice, it was his voice. That next night, he left the lights on. At 2:30 a.m., he felt it again. The air changed. It got colder, thicker, like the room itself was holding its breath. He stared at the ceiling, and then the bed creaked. Creak. He sat up, didn't move, didn't speak, and then he saw it, the corner of his blanket lifting from underneath. As if something was crawling back under the bed, he gathered every ounce of courage, threw the blanket off, jumped to the floor, and saw the message, not under the bed, but on the wall behind it. See, his bed was flush against the wall. He hadn't seen what was behind it in months, but now it had been pushed 2 feet away and scratched into the drywall in jagged, deep lines. "I've been stopping him. You just let him in," Ethan told his parents. They thought he was having a breakdown. He told his friends. They joked he was main charactering too hard. So he set up his phone, put it on the dresser facing the bed, hit record, left the lights on, and waited. At 2:33 a.m., his screen went static for exactly 13 seconds. When the video resumed, his bed was 2 feet from the wall. Again, and something, just for a moment, could be seen crawling back under it, fast, inhuman, its limbs bent the wrong way. Ethan moved out of his room the next day. He started digging, asked his parents about the house, found out the house wasn't new. They were the third family to live there, and the first. They had a son, same age, 16. His name was Marcus, and Marcus had gone missing, disappeared from his room, middle of the night. No signs of forced entry. No note, just gone. Police assumed he ran away. Case went cold. Ethan went to the library, found an old yearbook photo of Marcus. He froze, because Marcus looked just like the thing under his bed. Pale skin, wide eyes, that same dead expression. What if Marcus didn't run away? What if he never left? Weeks went by. Ethan started sleeping on the couch. No more messages, no more voices. Until one night, 2:33 a.m., he heard something from his old room. A voice, but not his, not Marcus's. A third voice, deep, wet, hungry, whispering something he'll never forget. "He's gone now. Your turn." They moved 2 months later. Ethan still checks under every bed he sleeps in, not because he's afraid of what's there, but because he's afraid of what's missing, because whatever was under his bed wasn't trying to hurt him. It was trying to stop something worse. And now, that thing is out. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like something was off? Like your reflection was watching you just a second longer than it should have? Have you ever moved your hand and wondered if the reflection moved just a tiny bit later? What if it wasn't a reflection? What if it was a copy? A copy that wanted out? And what if one day it decided it didn't want to be the reflection anymore? This is Natalie's story, and after you hear what happened to her, you might never look at your bedroom mirror the same way again. Natalie was 17, senior year, lived with her parents in a big old house in Portland, Oregon, kind of artsy, obsessed with vintage stuff. She thrifted almost all her clothes, listened to records, painted at night. So when she found this antique mirror at a second-hand shop downtown, she was in love. It was tall, ornate, rusted gold frame. Looked like it belonged in some haunted mansion. She dragged it home, proud of her $40 find, and set it up in her room, right across from her bed. That night, she slept fine, but by the third night, she started noticing things. Every morning when she woke up, the mirror was fogged up, not like just a little dusty, but fogged like someone had breathed on it. But her room was always cold. No heat, no steam, windows closed. It didn't make sense. And then it got weirder. Sometimes when she walked past it, she'd see herself blink twice, like a double blink, one in the mirror, then a second later in real life. She thought it was a trick of the light, but then she started seeing her reflection smile, even when she wasn't. Not a full smile, just the corners of the mouth, and only for a second. That was enough. One night, she was brushing her teeth, getting ready for bed. She glanced at the mirror, paused, and leaned in. On the glass near the bottom were these tiny marks, thin, jagged lines, almost like scratches. At first, she thought it was just wear and tear, but over the next few nights, they got longer. And then one of them changed direction, became a letter, then a word. Let. She wiped it. Gone. Next morning it was back. Now it said, "Let me." Natalie didn't sleep that night. She pushed the mirror to the side wall and out of sight from her bed. But at 3:03 a.m., she woke up in a cold sweat. She didn't know why, just that she needed to look. She turned. The mirror was facing her again. She tried to tell her parents. They thought she was stressed, maybe hallucinating. So she did what anyone would do. She recorded it. Set up her phone across the room, mirror in full view, left it running overnight. The next morning, her phone was shattered, just lying in the middle of the floor, cracked clean across the screen, but not like it fell, more like someone stomped on it. She checked her backup camera roll. Only one photo had saved before the crash. It was her, sleeping in bed. But in the mirror, she was standing, smiling. Natalie started sleeping with the lights on, then music playing. Then she just stopped sleeping because the whispers started. First night, almost time. Second night, it's better here. Third night, let me out. The voice wasn't hers, but it came from the mirror, soft, raspy, female, like it was choking on smoke. She covered the mirror with a blanket. Next morning, the blanket was on the floor, torn and scratched into the floorboards. Stop hiding. That day, Natalie had enough. She took the mirror outside, dumped it in the alley behind her house, left it there. She didn't sleep well, but it was better. Until the next night, 3:03 a.m. The sound of glass. She sat up. The mirror was back, standing in the same spot, facing the bed. But this time, the reflection wasn't her. It was her room, but empty, like a window into the exact same space, just without her in it. And then a figure appeared, not walking, just materializing. It was her, but older, pale, sunken eyes, and smiling like her face had been cut into a grin. The reflection walked forward slowly and pressed its hand to the glass. Natalie jumped out of bed. The reflection didn't, it stayed watching. She called her grandma, only person who might believe her. Her grandmother's voice was calm, serious. You brought something in. Mirrors hold energy. Old ones, they trap it. Natalie asked what to do. Don't break it. That's the worst thing you could do. You'll let it out. Cover it. Seal it with salt. Pray. And don't look at it again. She did everything. Covered it. Salt circle. Candles. She even played a Latin prayer she found on YouTube. For 2 nights, nothing. Then on the 3rd night, 3:03 a.m., a knock from inside the mirror. She opened her eyes and saw it. The blanket was gone. The salt was smeared, and on the inside of the mirror, scratched in blood red, "It's too late." The next night, she left the house, slept at a friend's, tried not to talk about it, tried to pretend none of it was real. But she couldn't stop thinking about the last thing the reflection said, because it didn't speak aloud. It said it in her mind. And every night since, she's seen herself in windows, phone screens, bathroom mirrors, just staring back, waiting. And then one night, she woke up in her bed, not her friend's house, her bed, mirror facing her, reflection smiling. She looked around. Everything was silent, still, and in the mirror, her reflection raised its hand, but she didn't. It waved. She blinked. Her reflection didn't. Then it mouthed, "You're mine now," she screamed. But her mouth didn't move. Her body didn't move. She was frozen, and the reflection walked away, out of the frame, into the room. They say Natalie's still in there, in the mirror, trapped, staring, screaming, but no one can hear her, because the thing walking around now, that's not her. So next time you walk by a mirror and think your reflection moved a little too slowly, look closer, not too close though, because if it sees you, it might decide you're next.